You know, I was sitting on the toilet and I was thinking, would Sony and Marvel really go out of their way to establish 5 different villains in this movie and not even bother to put a 6th villain in? It's like running all the way through a race and right before you get to the finish line, just be like, you know what? I quit. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then I started thinking about that end post-credit scene of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And why would they go ahead and make the trouble of putting Spider-Man in that universe if they're not going to utilize Venom at all? Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Let's talk about that. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel once again. I am Robert Storms. As always, if you're finding me for the very first time, please do me a huge favor. Smash that like and subscribe button. Hit that bell notification. That way you guys can stay up to date on all future content here on my channel. And if you guys noticed the stain on my shirt over here, good eye. I noticed it right before I went live. And I'm like, shit, I'm not changing my shirt. I mean, to be fair, it's only water, so it should, dry up pretty soon. But like, damn, that's so unprofessional. But talking about professional, let's talk about the idea of Venom actually being in Spider-Man No Way Home and possibly being the 6th member of the Sinister Six. So this is not confirmed. This is not rumored. This is not leaked. This is just my personal speculation. I personally feel that if Marvel and Sony is going to go out of their way to bring all these other villains from all these other movies into this one film and have 5 major villains, why won't they just throw some other villain in there and make a Sinister Six? If they're so close to making a Sinister Six, why not just finish and make a Sinister Six? Especially since we know Sony's been trying to do a Sinister Six movie since back when Andrew Garfield was still a Spider-Man. Years ago, they wanted to do a Sinister Six movie. Now they have Venom, which is a very successful IP. We know that Venom has a history with Spider-Man. It makes sense to me, especially with the end credit scene, where we clearly see that Venom is now into this world. Why not add Venom into this movie? Now, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to have a massively big role. He could show up at the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. But I think, it makes sense. They could have something where the symbiote is drawn to Peter, drawn to Spider-Man. Because when we do see Tom Hardy first introduced to Tom Holland, it is over a news announcement by J. Jonah Jameson saying that Spider-Man killed Mysterio. So Venom looks at Spider-Man and thinks, oh, this guy's the villain. So it would make sense that maybe Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Venom feels like Spider-Man's a threat, feels like he's a villain, and they go after him. And for a short while, he is the 6th member of the Sinister Six. And then maybe somewhere down the line, Venom actually gets attached to Spider-Man. We get the White Spider, so we get that big fan service that we have all wanted. And then Eddie Brock and Venom realize, no, this guy is the good guy. These guys are the villains. And Eddie Brock jumps sides and helps Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire take out the other 5 villains. Even the playing field. Make it a giant Spider-Man team-up movie. Because, yes, even though Venom isn't Spider-Man, Venom in the comic books does have a spider on his chest, does shoot webs, and Venom is actually created because of the symbiote bond between the symbiote and Peter Parker. So it would make a lot of sense when you sit there and actually kind of think about it. Venom doesn't know Peter's not a good guy or a bad guy. Venom is looking at this news broadcast by J. Jonah Jameson going, oh, he killed Mysterio. And he's like, oh, this guy, I'm going after him. And maybe Venom has some kind of instinct drawn to Peter. It's like, oh, no, we have to go after this guy. There's some kind of animal instinct that tracks him to Peter Parker. And even though Eddie Brock is a good guy in this universe, he's not like the same Eddie Brock from the comic books. Maybe that causes some kind of divide between Eddie and Peter. And then somehow they come to terms with no, Peter is the good guy. We need to stand with him. And maybe Venom is one of the ones that team up with Spider-Man. And there's a 4-on-5 team-up battle at the end of this movie. Now, this is all high speculation. There is no rumor, but I do feel like if you go back and actually look at the hints and data and everything we've shown from the post-credit scenes to what's going on with Venom, I do feel like there's a high probability that this is something that is plausible. I do. I feel like this is something that is very, very plausible, something that can actually happen. I do think Sony and Marvel doesn't do these end credit scenes for fun. They always do it to link it up to something. Why go through the trouble of having a post-credit scene in Venom 2? Because they haven't announced the Venom 3 yet. So it's not a setup for Venom 3. Why have that setup at the post-credit scene of Tom Holland being on the screen, having the flash, and boom, he's in that universe, and they're not going to capitalize that in any way? I do think there's a strong probability. Now, there is also a second theory that maybe by the end of this movie, by the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, so much stuff happens that Tom Holland, Peter Parker, asks Doctor Strange, reverse everything. Take me back to the beginning. And then they somehow Doctor Strange reverses time and takes Peter back to the moment where that news broadcast happens, and Peter is actually no longer in the MCU universe. He is now in the Sony universe, which explains why Eddie Brock is seeing him on screen. So there's two different probabilities, because if you guys aren't aware of what's going on behind the scenes, this is Tom Holland's last movie in the MCU. He is no longer going to be in the Marvel Studios. This is the final Spider-Man in the MCU. So in order to bring him into the Sony universe and take him away from the Marvel universe, maybe there is something at the end of this movie where, yes, Doctor Strange grants his wish. He reverses everything, puts Peter back to that scene, but it's in an alternate reality. It's not in the MCU universe anymore. So that's a strong possibility, but I do think there is evidence that proves Venom very much could be a part of this universe, but everything right now is all smoke mirrors, theories. We're all just kind of talking about. We won't know for sure until next month when the movie comes out, but I want to know what you guys think. How do you feel about Venom possibly being the sixth member of the Sinister Six? Make a lot of sense to me. If you're going to go with 5 villains, why not go all the way and put in a 6th villain? Plus, he could do a team-up thing, and it would just be a great fan service, I think, and it would definitely fit the movie. I want to know what you guys think. Be sure to leave those comments in the comment box below. And until next time, as always, I am Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.